The massive crystal dome of Nexus Prime sparkled under the light of 3 suns. Inside the Great Hall, 12 different alien species sat around a circular table that floated in the air without any support. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful group in known space. They had ruled over hundreds of worlds for thousands of years. Council Prime Veltar stood up from his seat. He was tall and thin, with green scales covering his body and yellow eyes that never blinked. His people, the Skivi, were known for being smart and cruel. They had been part of the council longer than any other race. "Fellow council members," Veltar said in a voice that sounded like wind through dry leaves, "today we discuss a new discovery. Our scout ships have found another primitive world." The other council members looked interested but not excited. They had found many primitive worlds before. Most of them were not worth their time. Veltar waved his long arm and a blue light appeared above the table. The light showed a small blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. "This world is called Terra 3 by our mapping system. The creatures living there call it Earth. They call themselves humans." A bird-like alien with bright red feathers spoke up. This was Kethmora of the Kethra race. "What makes these humans special? Why should we care about another backward world?" Veltar smiled, showing sharp teeth. "These humans are interesting. They fight each other constantly. They poison their own air and water. They have weapons that could destroy their entire planet. Yet they keep making more of them." Another council member laughed. This one looked like a living crystal, clear and bright. The Zephnari were made of pure energy that lived inside crystal bodies. "Sounds like typical primitive behavior. What threat level do our computers say they are?" 0.003%, Veltar answered. "Almost nothing, but that is not why I brought them to your attention." The council waited for him to continue. Veltar enjoyed making others wait. It made him feel powerful. "These humans have something we have not seen before. They learn very fast. In just 100 of their years, they went from riding animals to flying in space. They went from simple tools to computers. They are growing stronger very quickly." A floating blob of purple gas spoke next. The Nethel were an old race that lived in the gas clouds between stars. Even if they learn fast, they are still weak. What could they possibly do to us? Veltar's smile grew wider. Nothing, of course. But think about this. In another 100 years, they might become a problem. In 200 years, they might challenge smaller council worlds. Why wait for them to become strong? Why not take control of them now while they are still weak? The council members looked at each other. This made sense to them. They had done this many times before. Find a young race, take over their world, and make them work for the council. It was much easier than fighting them later. The crystal being spoke again. "What do you suggest we do with them?" "Simple," Veltar said. "We send them a message. We tell them that they now belong to the Galactic Council. We give them one of their years to surrender completely. If they agree, we put them to work in our mines and factories. If they refuse, we destroy their major cities until they change their minds." Kethmora flapped her wings. "Have you studied their military power?" "Yes," Veltar answered. "They have nuclear weapons, but they are very primitive. Their fastest ships cannot even leave their own star system properly. Their computers are slower than our children's toys. They have no defense against our technology." The purple gas cloud bobbed up and down. "What about their governments? They have one leader we can talk to?" Veltar made a sound like laughing, but it was not a pleasant sound. "They have over 200 separate governments. They cannot agree on anything. Some fight about religion, some fight about land, some fight about resources. They are completely divided. It will be easy to make them surrender." Another council member spoke. This one looked like a large insect with 6 arms and compound eyes. The Vorthak were good at building things and following orders. "How many humans are there?" "About 8 billion, Veltar said. "That is a lot of workers for our projects. They reproduce quickly and do not live very long, so we will always have fresh workers." The crystal being's light grew brighter, which meant it was thinking hard. 8 billion primitive workers would be very useful. We could finish the Great Ring project in half the time. Exactly, Veltar said. And if some of them die from the hard work, there are always more being born. The council members nodded their heads or did whatever their species did to show agreement. They liked this plan. It would give them many new workers and remove a possible future threat. Let us vote, said the floating purple cloud. All in favor of taking control of the human world? One by one, each council member voted yes. The Siskavi, the Kethra, the Zephanari, the Nethel, the Vorthuk, and 7 other species all agreed. It was unanimous. Good, Veltar said. I will prepare the surrender message. We will send it to all human governments at the same time. They will have 1 standard year to accept our rule. The bird-like alien asked, What if they try to fight us? Veltar laughed again. With what? Their primitive weapons cannot hurt our shields. Their slow ships cannot catch our fast ones. If they are stupid enough to fight, we will destroy a few of their cities. The rest will surrender quickly when they see how powerless they are. The council meeting ended, and the alien leaders returned to their ships. They were all happy with their decision. Soon they would have billions of new slaves to work for them. The humans would learn to serve their betters. As Veltar walked to his ship, he thought about how easy this would be. He had studied the human broadcasts that his people had intercepted. These creatures spent most of their time fighting each other over small pieces of land. They could not even work together to clean up their own planet. They would never be able to work together to fight the mighty Galactic Council. His ship lifted, off from Nexus Prime and headed toward the edge of Council space. From there, a quantum message would be sent to Earth. The message would arrive in 3 of their days. Then the humans would have 1 year to make their choice. Veltar was sure they would choose to surrender. After all, they were just primitives who had barely learned to leave their own world. What could they possibly do against the combined might of 12 advanced civilizations? He had no idea that the humans had been listening to Council communications for decades. He did not know that they had been preparing for this moment for 20 years. He certainly did not know that the primitive humans were about to surprise the entire galaxy. The message was sent. The Council waited for surrender, but humans had other plans. The message from space arrived at exactly 3:47 in the morning, Earth time. It came to a secret facility hidden deep in the mountains of South Korea. The building looked like a simple weather station from the outside, but inside was the most advanced communication equipment on the planet. Dr. Kim Taemin was working the night shift when his computers started making loud warning sounds. He had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. He was a thin man with thick glasses and tired eyes, but those eyes became very bright when he saw the alien message appearing on his screen. The message was in a language that no human was supposed to understand. But Kim Taemin was not just any human. He was the best alien language expert on Earth, and he had been studying Council communications for decades. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard as he began translating the message. As he read what the aliens had written, his face became pale. This was it. This was the message that Earth's secret leaders had been expecting and preparing for. He picked up a special red phone that connected directly to the most important people in the world. "This is Taemin," he said when someone answered. "The message has arrived. It's exactly what we thought it would be. They want us to surrender, in 1 year." Within 2 hours, the most powerful people on Earth were sitting in a secret room buried under the city of Geneva. This room did not appear on any map. Most world leaders did not even know it existed. Only a few dozen people knew about the Global Defense Consortium. President Park Soo-young sat at the head of the long table. She was the leader of the Pacific Federation, but in this room, she had a different job. She was the current director of humanity's secret world government. This government had been formed 20 years ago, after Earth first detected alien radio signals. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Park said to the people around the table, "the moment we have been preparing for has finally come. The Galactic Council has sent us their surrender demand." General Lee Hanbin, a tall man with silver hair and sharp eyes, placed a thick file on the table. "Our readiness report is complete. All defense systems are online. All fleets are in position. All personnel know their jobs." Dr. Yoon Jae-ho, the head of Earth's intelligence service, nodded his agreement. He was a quiet man who knew more secrets than anyone else on the planet. Our information gathering has been successful. We know where all their important worlds are. We know how their ships work. We know their weaknesses. President Park looked around the table. These people came from every nation on Earth, but they all worked for the same goal, protecting humanity from threats that most people did not even know existed. "How long do we have?" she asked. "1 Earth year from today," Dr. Kim Taemin answered. He had been brought to the meeting to explain exactly what the aliens had said. "But I do not think we should wait that long." Everyone turned to look at him. Kim Taemin was not a military man or a politician. He was just a scientist who studied alien languages. But in this room, his opinion was very important. "Why not?" President Park asked. "Because they expect us to spend that year arguing among ourselves," Kim Taemin explained. "They think we cannot work together. They think we will waste time fighting about what to do. If we wait too long, they might get suspicious and wonder why we are so quiet." Admiral Choi Yoonji leaned forward in her chair. She was the commander of Earth's secret space fleet. Most people thought humans had only a few small space stations, but the truth was very different. "How do you suggest we respond?" Kim Taemin smiled for the first time that day. "We don't send them a message. We deliver our answer in person." The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what he was suggesting. Instead of sending a radio message back to the aliens, humans would travel to their worlds and speak to them face to face. It was a bold plan, but also very dangerous. General Lee Hanbin looked at his papers. "Our ships are ready for long-distance travel. Dr. Park Min-ho's new engines work perfectly. We can reach their main world in 6 weeks." Dr. Park Min-ho was not at the meeting, but everyone knew about his work. He was the scientist who had figured out how to make human ships travel faster than light. His engines were based on alien technology that had been secretly studied for 50 years. "What about weapons?" someone asked. "We don't need weapons," Admiral Choi said. "Our plan is not to fight them. Our plan is to shock them." Dr. Yoon Jae-ho opened his own file. "Our cyber warfare division is ready. We can shut down their communication networks if we need to. We can make their computers stop working. We can even make their ships lose power." President Park looked at each person in the room. "Are we all agreed? Do we go with the direct approach?" One by one, they all voted yes. Humanity would not wait for the Galactic Council to come to them. Humans would go to the Council first. "Admiral Choi," President Park said, "prepare your fleet. Take our best ships and our best people. Go to Nexus Prime and show them that humans are not as primitive as they think." Admiral Choi stood up and saluted. "It will be my honor, Madam President." "Dr. Yoon," President Park continued, "begin cyber operations immediately. I want their communication systems confused but not destroyed. Make them wonder what is happening." Dr. Yoon nodded. "Understood. We will be like ghosts in their machines." As the meeting ended, the people in the room began making phone calls and sending coded messages. All over Earth, secret bases became busy with activity. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid belts began moving toward their targets. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this mission checked their equipment one last time. Commander Nam Woo-jin was getting his diplomatic team ready. They would be the first humans to meet aliens face to face. But unlike what the aliens expected, these humans would not come as beggars asking for mercy. They would come as equals demanding respect. Agent Shin Do-hyun was already in space, traveling, on a secret mission to Council territory. He was one of several human spies who had been working behind enemy lines for years. The aliens had no idea that humans had been watching them and learning their secrets. Chief Scientist Oh Mi-young was making final preparations for the most important presentation in human history. She would show the aliens that humans understood technology just as well as they did. Maybe even better. Far from Earth, human ships began appearing in space around alien worlds. They did not attack. They did not threaten. They simply appeared like magic. The alien sensors could detect them sometimes, but could not lock weapons onto them. The human ships seemed to be there and not there at the same time. On 12 different worlds, alien military commanders tried to figure out what was happening. Their computers could not explain how primitive human ships were suddenly everywhere in Council space. Their scientists could not understand how humans had traveled so far so fast, but the biggest surprise was still to come. In 6 weeks, Admiral Choi's flagship would arrive at Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council would learn that they had made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were primitive savages who would surrender without a fight. They were about to discover that humans were something much more dangerous than savages. Humans were clever. The emergency alarm on Nexus Prime had never sounded before. In 3,000 years of Galactic Council history, no one had ever dared to approach their capital world without permission. But now the alarm was screaming across the Crystal City, and Council security forces were running everywhere in panic. Council Prime Veltar stood in the command center, staring at the screens with his mouth open. Above his city, a massive human ship hung in the air like it belonged there. The ship was sleek and dark, nothing like the crude metal boxes that human ships were supposed to be. How did it get past our defenses? Veltar demanded from the security chief. The security chief, a Vorthak with 6 trembling arms, looked at his instruments. I don't know, sir. Our sensors show nothing. Then suddenly the ship was just there. Our weapon systems cannot lock onto it. Veltar's yellow eyes narrowed. Cannot lock onto it? That's impossible. Try again. We have tried 17 times, sir. The targeting computers say there is nothing there, but we can see the ship with our eyes. On screens around the command center, similar reports were coming in from all 12 Council homeworlds. Human ships had appeared everywhere at the same time. Some were big, some were small, but all of them were invisible to Council weapons. Admiral Choi Yunji stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking down at the Crystal City below. She was wearing a new type of spacesuit that made her look more like a robot than a person. The suit was black and silver, with a helmet that completely covered her face. Commander Nam, she said into her radio, are your people ready? Commander Nam Woo Jin was in the shuttle bay with his diplomatic team. Like Admiral Choi, he was wearing one of the new suits. Yes, Admiral, we are ready to make first contact. Remember, Admiral Choi said, we are not here to threaten them. We are here to educate them. The human shuttle left the flagship and flew down toward Nexus Prime. It was small and quiet, but the aliens watching it could tell that it was made with technology they did not understand. The shuttle's surface seemed to bend light around it, making it hard to look at directly. Veltar and his security team met the humans at the main landing pad. The Council Prime had brought 50 armed guards, all carrying the most advanced weapons in Council space. But as the human shuttle landed and its door opened, Veltar began to feel nervous. Commander Nam stepped out first, followed by 5 other humans. They walked with confidence like they owned the place. Their suits moved smoothly and quietly, and Veltar could not see their faces behind the dark helmets. I am Commander Nam Woo Jin of the Earth Defense Force, the lead human said. His voice came from a speaker on his suit, and it sounded calm and professional. I am here to speak with the Galactic Council about your recent message. Veltar tried to look strong and important. I am Council Prime Veltar. You will remove your helmets and show proper respect. Commander Nam tilted his head slightly. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Our suits are protecting us from biological contamination. Your world has many bacteria and viruses that could harm us. This was not true, but it sounded reasonable. The real reason the humans kept their helmets on was psychological. They wanted the aliens to wonder what human faces looked like. Mystery was a powerful weapon. You received our surrender demand, Veltar said. Have you come to accept our terms? Actually, Commander Nam replied, we have come to discuss your surrender. The alien guards raised their weapons, but Commander Nam did not seem worried. He reached into a pocket on his suit and pulled out a small device. Please look at this, he said, holding up the device. It projected a holographic image into the air between him and Veltar. The image showed the space around Nexus Prime. In the image, dozens of human ships could be seen surrounding the planet, but these ships were much larger and more numerous than what the aliens could detect with their sensors. This is what is really around your world right now, Commander Nam explained. Your sensors can only see one of our ships because we are allowing you to see it. The rest are hidden. Veltar's scales began to change color, which happened when Siskvi became frightened. That's impossible. Our technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Commander Nam touched another button on his device. Suddenly, all the human ships became visible to alien sensors. Nexus Prime was completely surrounded. There were hundreds of them. Chief Scientist Oh Mi-young stepped forward. She was carrying a larger device that looked like a briefcase. Council Prime Veltar, may I show you something interesting? Without waiting for permission, she opened the device. A complex holographic display appeared in the air. It showed detailed blueprints of HFY technology, Kethra ships, Zephyr energy systems, and technology from every other council race. These are the complete technical specifications for all of your equipment, Oh Mi-young said. We have been studying your technology for 50 years. We understand how everything works. Veltar stared at the display. The information was completely accurate. It showed details about council technology that were supposed to be secret. How did you get this? Oh Mi-young smiled behind her helmet. The same way we learned your languages. The same way we learned about your politics. The same way we learned about your weaknesses. We listened to your radio signals. We captured your probe ships. And we sent our own people to watch you. Another human stepped forward. This was Agent Shin Do-hyun, though he did not give his real name. I have been living on council worlds for 8 years, he said. I worked in your factories, I ate in your restaurants, I rode on your transport ships. You never suspected that a human was among you. Veltar's yellow eyes became very wide. That's impossible. You're primitive. You barely know how to leave your own solar system. Agent Shin laughed. That's what we wanted you to think. While you were watching our public space program struggle to reach our moon, our secret program was building ships that could travel between stars. While you were intercepting our civilian radio broadcasts, our military was listening to all of your communications. Commander Nam activated another function on his device. This one showed recordings of council meetings, including the meeting where they had decided to conquer Earth. We heard every word of your discussion, Commander Nam said. We know exactly what you plan to do to us. By now, more council members had arrived on Nexus Prime. The bird-like Kethmora landed with a group of her warriors. The crystal being Zephnari floated down from her ship. The purple gas cloud Nethul arrived in a special containment suit. All of them stared in shock at what the humans were showing them. These were not the primitive savages they had been expecting. These creatures had technology that was equal to or better than their own. This is some kind of trick, Kethmora squawked. You're using stolen council technology. Chief Scientist Oh Mi-young touched another control on her device. The holographic display changed to show human technology. It was sleek, efficient, and clearly more advanced than anything the council had ever seen. This is our fusion drive system, she explained. It's 3 times more efficient than your plasma drives. This is our quantum computer array. It can solve calculations in minutes that would take your computers days. This is our medical scanner. It can heal injuries that your doctors consider impossible to treat. The council members looked at each other with growing fear. Each piece of human technology was better than their best equipment. Where did this come from? The crystal being asked. How did you advance so quickly? Oh Mi-young's voice became proud. We built it ourselves. When we realized we were not alone in the universe, we worked together like never before. Every human nation contributed, their best scientists. We shared all our knowledge. We had one goal, to be ready when the aliens came. Commander Nam stepped closer to Veltar. You made one big mistake when you studied us. You only watched our public activities. You never suspected that we might be hiding our real capabilities. What do you want? Veltar asked. His voice was no longer strong and confident. Now he sounded worried and confused. We want to talk, Commander Nam said, but not as your slaves, as your equals. The age of the Galactic Council ruling through fear and superior technology is over. It's time for a new kind of galaxy. The humans had not fired a single shot, but they had already won the most important battle. They had destroyed the Council's belief in their own superiority. Now the real negotiations could begin. The great meeting hall of Nexus Prime had never seen anything like this. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council was not in control of their own meeting. The 12 council races sat on one side of the floating table, while humans sat on the other side. But everyone in the room knew who really had the power now. Ambassador Lee Sujin sat across from Council Prime Veltar. She had removed her helmet, revealing a calm face and intelligent eyes. The aliens had been curious about what humans looked like, and now they could see that humans appeared surprisingly ordinary. That somehow made them even more frightening. "Before we begin," Ambassador Lee said, "I want to make something clear. We are not here to conquer you. We are not here for revenge. We are here to fix a broken system." Veltar's scales were still the pale color they turned when Skivvy were afraid. "What do you mean by broken system?" Ambassador Lee touched a control pad, and holographic images filled the air above the table. The images showed dozens of worlds throughout Council space. Some were beautiful garden planets, others were gray, lifeless mining worlds. "These are the worlds that your Council controls," she said. "On the beautiful worlds live the Council races. On the ugly worlds live your slaves." The images changed to show the slave races more clearly. There were furry creatures mining crystals. On airless moons. There were scaled beings working in underwater factories on ocean worlds. There were insect-like creatures building massive structures under burning suns. 47 different intelligent species work as slaves for the Council. Ambassador Lee continued. They have no rights. They receive no payment for their work. Many of them die young from the dangerous conditions you force them to work in. Kethmora flapped her wings angrily. Those species were conquered in fair wars. They are our property. Now. Fair wars? Ambassador Lee asked. You attacked them with advanced weapons while they had only primitive tools. You destroyed their cities from space while they could not even reach your ships. How is that fair? The crystal being Zephnari pulsed with bright light. This is how the galaxy has always worked. The strong rule the weak. It is natural law. Captain, Yu Sung-jun leaned forward in his chair. He was the military advisor for the human delegation. If that's natural law, then humans should rule all of you. Our technology is better than yours. Our ships are faster than yours. Our weapons are more powerful than yours. Several council members started to object, but Captain Yu held up his hand. But we don't want to rule you, he said. We want something better. We want partnership. Ambassador Lee activated another holographic display. This one showed a complex plan for reorganizing the entire galaxy. This is our proposal, she said. We call it the Galactic Federation. Instead of 12 races ruling over everyone else, every intelligent species gets a voice. Decisions are made by voting, not by force. The purple gas being Nethel swirled nervously. Impossible. There are too many species. They are too different. They could never agree on anything. Humans have over 200 separate nations on our world, Ambassador Lee replied. We all have different languages, different cultures, different religions, but we learned to work together when we faced a common threat. You, Dr. Bei Hiejin stood up from her seat. She was the human medical specialist and she had been quiet during most of the meeting. May I show you something? Without waiting for permission, she walked over to a Vorthok guard who had been injured earlier when human ships appeared around the planet. The guard had fallen and hurt his arm, but alien doctors had said the injury was too complex to heal properly. Dr. Bei pulled out a small medical device and passed it over the guard's arm. Within seconds, the injury was completely healed. The guard moved his arm with surprise and joy. Human medical technology, Dr. Bei explained. We can heal injuries and diseases that you consider impossible to treat, but we don't keep this technology to ourselves. We share it. She looked around the room at all the aliens. Under our Federation plan, every species would have access to the best medical care in the galaxy. No one would suffer from treatable diseases. No one would die from injuries that can be healed. The council members looked uncomfortable. They were used to keeping their best technology for themselves and their closest allies. Engineer Lim Tae-hyung activated his own display device. "This is our terraforming technology," he said. Images of green, living worlds appeared in the air. "We can turn dead planets into garden worlds. We can clean poisoned air and water. We can restore worlds that have been damaged by mining or war." The images showed before and after pictures of planets. Worlds that had been strip-mined and left as lifeless rocks were transformed into beautiful planets with forests, oceans, and cities. Every species in the Federation would have the right to a healthy homeworld, Engineer Lim explained. No more slave races working in dangerous conditions. No more species forced to live on dying planets while others enjoy paradise. Veltar slammed his clawed hand on the table. "You expect us to give up thousands of years of progress? You want us to share our power with primitive species that barely understand fire?" Agent Kim Dong-hyun, who had been quietly observing the meeting, finally spoke. Primitive species like humans were a few decades ago. He activated a recording device that had been hidden in his suit. The recording was from the council meeting where they had decided to conquer Earth. Veltar's own voice filled the room. "These humans are interesting. They fight each other constantly. They poison their own air and water. They have weapons that could destroy their entire planet, yet they keep making more of them." The recording continued with other council members laughing about how easy it would be to enslave humanity. "You called us primitives," Agent Kim said. "You planned to work us to death in your minds. Now you discover that we are more advanced than you are. How do you think those other primitive species might surprise you if you gave them a chance?" The room became very quiet. The council members were beginning to understand that their entire view of the galaxy might be wrong. Ambassador Lee stood up and walked to the center of the room. "We're not asking you to give up your wealth or your comfort. We're asking you to earn them in a better way. Instead of taking resources from slave worlds, trade with partner worlds. Instead of forcing others to serve you, work together for everyone's benefit." "And if we refuse?" Veltar asked. Captain Yu Seung-jun answered that question. "Then you'll discover what it feels like to be on the weak side of your natural law." He activated a holographic display showing the space around every council homeworld. Each planet was surrounded by human ships, all invisible to alien sensors. "We have the power to do to you what you plan to do to us," Captain Yu said. "We could destroy your cities, enslave your populations, and force you to work in dangerous mines. But we won't do that because we're better than that." The display changed to show human ships helping alien vessels that were in trouble. Human medical teams treating injured aliens. Human engineers working alongside alien workers to build new cities. "This is what we've been doing for the past 6 months while you thought we were primitives hiding on our homeworld," Captain Yu explained. "Helping your own people, saving lives, solving problems, proving that cooperation works better than conquest." Dr. Bay spoke again. 3 days ago, our medical teams helped save 2,000 HFY civilians when their colony ship had life support. Failure. Yesterday, our engineers helped repair a Kethra mining station before it exploded. Last week, our rescue teams found survivors from a Zephanari exploration ship that had been missing for months. She looked directly at Veltar. "We've been protecting your people while you were planning to destroy ours." The council members looked at each other with growing confusion and fear. They had spent thousands of years believing that might made right, that the strong should rule the weak. Now they were faced with beings who were stronger than them but chose to help instead of hurt. Ambassador Lee returned to her seat. "You have a choice to make. You can join the Federation as equal partners and help us build a better galaxy for everyone, or you can refuse and learn what it's like to be the primitives that more advanced species look down upon." She looked around the table at each council member. "But choose quickly. There are 47 slave species out there who are tired of waiting for freedom. With or without you, the galaxy is going to change." 6 months later, the galaxy looked very different. The crystal halls of Nexus Prime had been rebuilt to accommodate hundreds of different species, instead of just 12. Where once only the voices of the council races had been heard, now there was a beautiful chaos of sounds as dozens of species spoke in their own languages through universal translators. Secretary General Kwon Min-soo stood at the center of the Great Hall, watching the first session of the Galactic Federation. He was a quiet man who had spent most of his life as a diplomat, but now he had the most important job in the galaxy. He was humanity's first representative to the new government that would shape the future of thousands of worlds. The changes had not been easy. When the Galactic Council finally agreed to the Federation proposal, many things had to be reorganized quickly. The hardest part was freeing the slave species and helping them become independent members of the new government. Dr. Jung Hanna had led the effort to restore the damaged slave worlds. Her terraforming teams had worked day and night to turn poisoned, mining planets back into places where people could live safely. The furry Corvani, who had been forced to mine crystals on airless moons, now had green homeworlds with clean air and flowing water. The scaled Threnodi, who had worked in underwater factories, now had beautiful ocean worlds where they could swim freely. It had been expensive and difficult work, but the results were worth it. The former slave species were so grateful that they became humanity's strongest supporters in the new Federation. Not all of the old Council races had accepted the changes easily. The Skvi, led by Veltar, had fought against every reform. They complained that giving rights to inferior species would destroy galactic civilization. But as the months passed, even they began to see the benefits of the new system. Trade between worlds had increased dramatically. When species were partners instead of masters and slaves, they worked much harder and produced better results. The Corvani, who had been treated as simple miners, turned out to be brilliant artists whose crystal sculptures became popular throughout the galaxy. The Threnodi, who had been forced to work in factories, were actually gifted engineers whose designs improved everything from spaceships to medical equipment. Captain Park Ji-woo commanded one of the new Federation exploration ships. These ships were different from the old Council vessels that had been built for conquest and intimidation. Federation ships were designed to explore, to help, and to make friends with new species. His ship, the New Dawn, had just returned from the galaxy's outer rim where they had made contact with 3 new intelligent species. Instead of immediately demanding surrender, the humans had offered trade, technology sharing, and membership in the Federation. All 3 species had eagerly agreed to join. Captain's log. Park Ji-woo spoke into his recorder. We have successfully established diplomatic relations with the Quillari, a species of energy beings who live in the gas clouds around young stars. They have offered to share their knowledge of plasma dynamics in exchange for our medical technology. Their insights could help us build even better fusion engines. He looked out the window of his ship at the stars ahead. The Xanthari have agreed to join the Federation as full members. Their biotechnology is incredibly advanced. They can grow living buildings and ships that repair themselves. Combined with human engineering, we could build cities that last for thousands of years while staying in perfect harmony with their environments. The third new species had been the most surprising. The Yelani were a race of small, furry creatures who looked harmless, but had developed mathematics and physics far beyond what any other species had achieved. They had been hiding from the galaxy because they were afraid of being conquered by the old Council. The Yelani have calculated that the Federation model will increase galactic prosperity by over 400% within 50 years. Park Ji-woo continued his log entry. They say our approach of cooperation instead of domination creates what they call exponential beneficial feedback loops. Apparently, when everyone benefits from progress, progress happens much faster. Back on Nexus Prime, the Federation was dealing with one of its first major challenges. A group of Sci-Fi extremists, led by Veltar's nephew, had tried to restart the old Council system by force. They had attacked a former slave world and tried to reclaim it. The Federation's response had surprised everyone, including the attackers. Instead of sending warships to destroy the rebels, they had sent negotiation teams, medical ships, and humanitarian aid. When the Sci-Fi extremists saw their own people being helped by the species they had tried to re-enslave, most of them gave up fighting and surrendered. General Lee Hanbin, now the Federation's military commander, explained the strategy to a group of new members. When someone attacks you, the natural response is to attack back. But humans learned something important during our own history. Violence creates more violence. The only way to really win is to make your enemies into friends. Showed them recordings of the Eskvi incident. We could have destroyed their ships and imprisoned their leaders. Instead, we helped repair the damage they had caused and invited them to explain their concerns in a peaceful forum. Most of them realized that the new system actually benefits their people more than the old one did. The approach had worked so well that several other potential rebel groups had decided to join the Federation peacefully instead of fighting. Admiral Choi Yunji was now in charge of the Federation's defense fleet. But unlike the old Council military that had been designed to conquer and intimidate, the Federation fleet focused on protection and rescue. Her ships were equipped with advanced medical facilities, repair equipment, and diplomatic meeting rooms. "We had 3 emergency calls this week," she reported to the Federation Assembly. A Kethra colony ship lost power in deep space. A Zephnari research station was hit by an asteroid. A Nethil exploration vessel got caught in a solar flare. She activated a holographic display showing all 3 rescue operations. In each case, Federation ships arrived within hours to provide assistance. We saved over 10,000 lives total. More importantly, we showed that the Federation takes care of all its members equally. The rescued species had all been members of the old Council. Under the previous system, they might have been expected to solve their own problems or ask for help from their own people only. But the Federation treated everyone as family. Dr. Yoon Jae-ho had transformed his intelligence service into something completely different. Instead of spying on potential enemies, his people now worked to understand the needs and cultures of different species. His agents helped solve disputes before they became violent and identified problems before they became crises. "Knowledge is still power," he explained to new Federation intelligence officers. "But now we use that power to help instead of hurt. When we understand what people need and want, we can find ways to give it to them without taking anything away from others." The most surprising success had been the cultural exchange programs. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now learning each other's languages, sharing their art, and even intermarrying. A Corvani crystal singer had married a Threnodi engineer. Their children would grow up speaking both languages and combining both cultures. Engineer Lim Tae-hyung's technology sharing program had produced incredible innovations. When brilliant minds from dozens of different species worked together, they solved problems that had been considered impossible for thousands of years. "We've developed a new type of faster-than-light communication," he announced to the Federation Science Council. "By combining human quantum physics, Yelani mathematics, and Zenthari biotechnology, we can send messages instantly across the entire galaxy." The implications were enormous. For the first time in galactic history, all the worlds of the Federation could talk to each other in real time. Families separated by thousands of light years could stay in touch. Scientists on different worlds could work together on the same projects. Problems could be solved quickly before they became disasters. As Secretary General Kwon Min-soo looked out at the diverse assembly of species in the Federation Hall, he felt proud of what humanity had achieved. But he also felt humble. Humans had not saved the galaxy by being the strongest or the smartest. They had done it by convincing everyone else that cooperation was better than conflict. The old Galactic Council had ruled through fear for 3,000 years. The new Federation had already achieved more in 6 months than the Council had in centuries, simply by treating everyone as equals. Outside the hall, ships from hundreds of worlds were arriving and departing constantly. Trade convoys, exploration, vessels, research ships, and passenger liners filled the space around Nexus Prime. The galaxy was more connected, more prosperous, and more peaceful than it had ever been. Veltar himself had finally accepted the new reality. He now served as the Sci-Fi representative to the Federation Assembly, and he had become one of the most effective voices for reform. The former Council Prime had learned that leading through inspiration was much more satisfying than ruling through intimidation. "I was wrong about humans," he admitted during a speech to the Assembly. "I thought they were primitive because they fought among themselves, but that fighting taught them something that we Council races never learned: